Hey, what's happening? It's your dude, the merciless Reese L. Black. Welcome back to the booth. I know it's been a minute, but you know, your boy, life gets in the way and everything. And so this was about time that I had some free time to actually record. And I know a whole bunch of stuff has like done past, and I might go ahead and touch on the things that's been out there in the space and everything. And that's another thing too. I gotta have the desire and the will to address some of this BS that just be going on in the space, man. And then so when I just be hearing online about what people are saying, I'd be like, oh God, I don't want to hear. I don't even want to deal with it. I'm not even touching that. But there is one thing in the space that I do want to touch on. The same thing that gets told over and over again about how a woman's education doesn't matter in dating. Once you find a skincare regimen that actually works and you stick to it, I'm telling you, you're going to end up getting the results that you've been looking for. Right here, you have the wash that I use daily, and I'll also have the scrub. So if you're interested in getting those same good results, please, in the description down below, make sure you hit the link. It's going to launch you to the T Channeling website, and I guarantee you'll have a good evening. So, men don't care whether you have a degree or not. Men don't care whether you're educated or not. According to what man? Call me old school. I'm a 70s baby. This is what's interesting. I guess we are the college generation. Come on, let's keep it real here. Everybody, as far as I know, if they look into history and then you see people who used to protest back in the day, you know, when it came to racism and discrimination, you notice all the women, and you know what? We're going to keep it black because it's only my brothers who be saying this crazy shit, right? Let's take a look. You know what? Before I go there, let me take a step on back. Let me address something. Now, rest in power, you know, to the almighty Kevin Samuels, because he would go in on the sisters who pretty much would let the world know that they are educated, they have a PhD or a degree in this and that and yada, 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 but yet they're still single, right? But one of the things I kind of wish that Kevin Samuels would have done, and maybe I missed it because I was an avid watcher of Kevin Samuels, because if anybody knows me, if my day ones, they know, I seen Kevin's inception of when he was into image and colognes and grooming and stuff like that, right? And then he transitioned over into the DNR space, right? Now, one of the things that he always did was he would bang on the chicks that would pretty much always talk about that they're educated, that they got a degree in this and that, and they're a boss chick and entrepreneur, yada, yada. They make six figures and they need a man that makes more or to match them, right? I wish that Kevin would take some time aside to address and give clarity on what he really means, but he never got to. I'm not saying because he passed. He probably just never got to because he just went on to the next subject, just went on to the next call, just went on to the next content, right? I wish that he would have pretty much just sat there and kind of just gave like a PSA to the men that he does not exactly mean no, men do not care. Granted, to some of the men, they just care whether you are quote unquote either cooperative or feminine, friendly, fit, but most importantly, are you just nice? Are you a good person? Are you sexy? And we all know that sex appeal and anything regarding physical attraction is just damn near subjective, right? But I wish he just would have addressed this one right here, that we actually do care about you being educated. It just may not be on the top of your average guy list. No, because the thing is, the first thing he sees is something physical, right? And then, of course, everything else is going to fall in place. But I just wish he would have taken the time to just say what I really mean. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, so I'm sorry about that. I just think he probably would like to address the fact that men don't leave the educated women on the table, right? There was a time where, of course, to the black community, education was very, very, very valuable. Do you know how many women back in the day were trying to get in med schools, trying to be doctors, hell, trying to become teachers? Some of those women back in the day became politicians. Some of those women back in the day became attorneys. A lot of our women, grandmothers or, you know, mothers, you know, they have went hard and dreamed of having a profession somewhere in STEM law, right? And they completed it. And a lot of them got married and had kids and things, right? If you look at the protests back in the day when, you know, women were marching on a bridge, Edmund Pettus Bridge. You notice that the women were pretty much really dressed nice? It's because a lot of them took time off of work to protest. And that brings me to my next thing that I've heard in the space was addressing, the Andrew Tate, where I heard him on a podcast, I believe, where he said, women, your job was no job. This is how I kind of know that Andrew, because Andrew is a brother, I heard. He just light skinned, he mixed. He really doesn't address anybody pertaining in the black space. I kind of noticed that. Because, interestingly, our grandmothers, our great aunts or whatever, they all had jobs. They all worked. I mean, do you remember who the help were? That's right. When you think of the words the help, you think of black women. Hell, men, they were the help too. Female back in the day were butlers as well as too. But yeah, we all know our some of our people's great grandmas and great aunties or whatever, they were maids. They were housekeepers. Damn near babysitters. Damn near nourished those babies. Yeah, we heard about, the black woman back in the day breastfeeding white babies and all of that. Yeah, we all know the history. Education was important in our community. It was. Damn it. How many of us went to college? That's right. Going back to what I was saying. A lot of us went to college. We dated girls on campus. Some of us dated a girl that was in a study group. Some of us dated our tutor. Some of us dated one of the cheerleaders for our football team or basketball team, whatever. And they were pursuing a degree of some sort, right? Some of us dated somebody in law school, med school. So I do get to an extent what Kevin was saying, that if you're on a date, of course, having a degree may not impress the average man. But to a man who has some sense, he looks at that as an achievement, right? And the thing is, yes, we got some ladies out there that think that, okay, if I tell them like, oh yeah, I have my MBA and yada, 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 they think that that's going to make a man aroused. And most likely he's not, because he probably got 3 degrees, he probably's not tripping off of that at the moment. And I get it. But for people to pretty much just say like, we don't care about your degree, you're literally saying you do not care about the education. And who are these men that are saying that they do not care about any of that? I have a daughter, and I know some men out there got daughters too. They would love for their daughters to go to college, to pursue a career somewhere in STEM law, right? Yes, why not? But for us to sit there and say like, yo, watch out for those women with PhDs, watch out to the women who are nurses and all of this other stuff. It's like, these are great professions. Granted, folks might say, well, because their characters must be a little bit somewhat bossy or a little bit somewhat masculine, because they're in an area which is pretty much dominated by men, right? And look, corporate is always going to be male dominated. That's just how it is. If men build corporations, they're going to hire men to do the job and yada, yada, yada. And yes, unfortunately, you have the women who are pretty much serving in the managerial positions or the supervisory mid-management positions, right? It's rare that you actually see, black female or women in nature, CEOs, presidents, unless they're starting their own businesses, right? Because we have plenty of women, especially, in our black community, who have achieved such feats. We have a bunch of black women who started businesses in media, not just cosmetics, but media. Some have invented great things that we actually, use today, right? But for us to say as black men, I mean, your education doesn't matter to me. I don't care if you're a PhD or whatever. I mean, if she's throwing that in your face, I don't know. And that's another thing. I don't know what women actually bring that mess up during a date. I don't. Out of all the women I dated prior to being married, I ain't never heard one girl bring up to me their college, their college achievements. I didn't ask. We were just pretty much having a good time. We always talked about things, personal or entertaining, but we don't never really talk about career goals and stuff like that, because that's just not interesting. It's boring when you're a grown man, like you heard it all, right? But for us to say yo, your degree doesn't matter to a certain extent, but then again, to who, right? Some men who grew up in an affluent environment usually have parents who went to college, met in college, and then they send them off to college, and then they end up meeting a boo. Frat parties, sorority parties. Shoot, when you just go to a nightclub surrounded by campus, these girls are in school. So you really just can't sit there and say like, hey, all you girls who go to like Spelman, it don't matter. Oh, you go to Howard? Well, I don't care. I just want to know, are you feminine? Look, at the end of the day, whoever you attract, like what you give out is what you're going to end up taking in, right? And I admit there probably are some cases where girls kind of know what to say to make you disinterested because they're already disinterested themselves. So I probably think that's what like a lot of you guys probably go through, but I'm just saying. But let's not disregard that PhD. That PhD may be able to save your business, if you're in like, have a private practice or something. I mean, I'm sure, I know it's fictional, but I'm sure Dr. Huxtable gave a damn about what Claire did because Claire was an attorney. And hey, he dug that. And that happened a lot in all of our, black shows. They all had great professions in STEM law. But yo, don't leave an educated woman on the table. I think that's kind of ignorant, especially if you haven't even taken the time to sit down and figure out who they actually were on the inside. And now you look like an asshole. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that vid out there, and y'all know how I do. I'm out this piece. Good evening, Mr. Black.